One day I'm gonna be everything I wanna be. I don't let it get the most of me. One day I'm gonna be free. I wanna be everything I'm gonna be. My future right in front of me. One day I'm gonna be free. I wanna be free, then let me be free. From the depths of darkness, a voice emerges, a host with a fire burning in his soul. With a heart, steel and a spirit unbroken, he rides on to his ready to claim his throne. Amidst the chaos and the thunderous roar, insane wheels rise as a force to be reckoned with. Fueled by the power that only metal can bestow, he takes his stand, refusing to submit. Insane wheels hear his battle cry. Metal and mayhem will never die. The wishful report and paves his way. Oh, legend in the making, day by day.
Ladies and gentlemen, wow, we've got a crazy morning ahead of us. Great to see everyone in the chat, man. So as you guys can see, we got the title is Hormuz Blockade Tensions, as well as Israel-Lebanon Talks, which should be happening sometime kind of today. I mean, it's kind of just not an indefinite time, but it's happening. And then we have Aviation bill as well. Now, let's go ahead and talk about a chronological timeline of what we're going to be discussing this morning, leading up into current times. This is what we've selected. We got a couple of reps, actually, that are either retiring or stepping away from office because of other wild things. So we got Representative Swalwell to resign from Congress after sexual assault. Yo. And then it says Representative Gonzalez to retire after admitting to affair with staffer. Back to back, boom, boom. Two different representatives. And then we're also going to be hearing from the Democrats in the Senate push for vote to end the war in Iran. And then we have Middle East latest as of last night. Trump vows to, quote, kill Iranian warships that near blockade. And then I'm sure that you guys have seen our reporting very briefly in the last, basically yesterday, is the little correspondence that happened, or the talk, I guess the shade that was thrown from Trump to Pope Leo. And then Pope Leo is now responding and says he has, quote, no fear of the Trump administration. And then we have a report that came out around like 10 o'clock at night, my time. Quote, whisper network of sexual misconduct allegations sounded alarm on Swalwell. So that's the first representative in his whole ordeal with his sexual assault case. We're going to find out about that. I actually don't even know the actual details of that yet. We're going to find out together here in a bit. And then we have Marco Rubio, obviously, leads Israel and Lebanon ceasefire talks. It says, now this is just 3 hours ago, mind you, it says U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio is hosting Israeli and Lebanese officials in Washington, D.C., by the way, in an effort to reach a peace agreement. Wow, that's pretty big ordeal there. And then we have, as well as Israel-Lebanon, to hold diplomatic talks in the U.S. We actually get to hear a little bit from the Israelis a little bit and see what their side of the whole thing is. We have reports. We have a whole bunch of stuff for you guys. All right, so that's what we're looking at this morning. Let's go ahead and do our call to actions real quick, and then we'll get right into the craziness. Make sure you guys hit that like button, double tap that screen if you guys are hanging out with us this morning. I very much appreciate it. It's free to do so. And also what we do Monday through Friday. Hit that subscribe button. And then, of course, we have members only on Saturday morning for you guys, where we don't talk about any of this shit, actually. We try to have a good time and laugh, you know. Now, speaking of membership, please please consider becoming a member. Starting only at $3.99 a month. It's not going to break the bank, anybody, but check it out. This is what allows us to be on these airwaves as well as have these lights on. So thank you guys for becoming members and staying members. Little side note here, follow my Instagram at BallValveTV, where I post everything behind the scenes of not only my life, but as well as the show, Millennial Food Time, breaking news, as well as the campaign trail, man. Make sure you guys follow me over there and direct message me there. It's a great way to get a hold of me one-on-one. And then we have Discord for all of you legends as well, because we only do this live stream for an hour per morning. And then, of course, we like to continue the conversation after the show, of course, with you guys in the IWF. So make sure you guys go in the video description down below for the invite link for the Discord, man. And last but not least, all super chats, super stickers, gifted memberships, and membership signups are, of course, all going to be presented live and shouted out onto the show. But if you guys would like to skip that YouTube 30% brutal cut that they take from your hard-earned cash, by the way, we have these platforms that are scrolling around the screen, and at any time that you guys can donate to those, I get 100% of the proceeds, and I'll read it out loud just like a super chat, man. So we've got our emails up, ready to rock and roll. We're scanning always. Now, real quick, we got Brother Beezer coming in with the 21-month renew. I very much appreciate that. As a member, saying I should be able to catch the whole show today. Nothing like being broken down in a tow truck, waiting for a tow truck. Wow, dude. Well, thank you for the 21 months. I very much appreciate that, Brother Beezer. It goes a long way, my man. Thank you for the 21 months of support. And then we've got Virginia Chaos. It's also gifting out a membership. Very much appreciate you, VC, showing a little love to the chat today and giving, not only helping me, but helping someone else in the IWF, man. All right, so great to see everyone in the chat, man. We got a lot of you legends in here. Let's go ahead. I'm scrolling all the way up so I can try to say hi to majority of you guys. We got Pablo in the building as well. Steve Posey, good morning to you guys. We got Virginia Chaos as well. Let's see. We're scrolling our way down. We got CMC, TNT. Shout out to my man as well as Easy Frank and Cameron. Always appreciate you fellas hanging out with us. We got Charlie Rose. Good morning to you. Good to see you. And happy Topless Taco Tuesday to you and yours. Absolutely. We got Steve Easy in the building as well as Rabbit of Chaos and Carney Vanguard. Appreciate you guys. Also, big shout out. We had Carney and the coffee crew from Motorbomb, Virginia that raided us this morning. So I very much appreciate showing the love to the show, man. That's facts. We got Naomi in the building as well. Shout out to you. We got Abe Dinkus. Good morning, kind sir. Great to see you as well. Hopefully you've been well. We got Gary as well. Good morning to you. We're scrolling down as fast as possible. Sorry, guys. We've got 5150. All of you guys are very important to me, so I try to do my best to say hi. You know what I mean? We got Panelverse. What's up, Jack? Good morning to you. We got Lick It Up a Poncho. My man, thank you very much for hanging out with us this morning. Also, I received your gift in the mail yesterday. How thoughtful. Got a badass shirt of yours as well as a card, man. I very much appreciate that for considering me for my birthday. All right, we're scrolling down. We got Jessica. Great to see you in here, Alleged. Great to see you. Hopefully y'all as well on the Facebook side of things. All right, let's go ahead and get right into the craziness. We got a lot to break down this morning, as you guys know. All right, so Representative Swalwell, or however you say his name, to resign from Congress after sexual assault.
News that we want to bring to you this hour regarding Representative Eric Swalwell, who has been under fire for sexual assault allegations. We are learning now he put out a new message and a statement. Take a look here as he says, I am deeply sorry for my family, staff, and constituents for mistakes in judgment I've made in my past. I will fight the serious false allegation made against me. However, I must take responsibility and ownership for the mistakes I did make. I am aware of efforts to bring an immediate expulsion vote against me and other members, expelling.
I got you, Beezer.
Why are you gay?
Anyone in Congress without due process within days of an allegation being made is wrong, but it's also wrong for my constituents to have me distracted from my duties. Therefore, I plan to resign my seat in Congress. I will work with my staff in the coming days to ensure that they are able, in my absence, to serve the needs of the good people of the 14th Congressional District. So this comes just a day after he made the news that he would not be seeking the the race for governor in California. And this all comes after new news that even the Manhattan DA says that Swalwell is under investigation over alleged sexual assault after a New York City gala. And then also today, Florida Republican Representative Luna says support may be there to expel Swalwell from Congress, and said that there may be enough support in the House to expel him following bombshell accusations that he sexually assaulted multiple women. And
multiple women. What?
Again, we have been keeping an eye on this story for you, but the news broke late Friday and then over the weekend continued to grow. There was more reporting on this, and the allegations continued. Swalwell has said that he...
Oh, that's very interesting, Gary, compared to if you were to be, like, voted out, for instance, compared to if you resign. That's interesting. I actually didn't know that.
Will fight them, but again, giving up the race for governor in California, and now saying that he plans to resign his seat from Congress. So we'll definitely be keeping an eye on all of this.
Damn, Ghost says supposedly 50 women. Holy shit, bro. Are you serious? That many? That's absurd. What the fuck? All right, we're moving on. We got to move on. We got another representative that is in crisis, it looks like. Representative Gonzalez to retire after admitting to affair with staffer. Oh, these people can't keep their dicks and shit in their fucking pants. What is wrong with these people? Anyways, here we go.
Welcome back, everyone, here to Live Now from Fox. I'm your host, Mike Pace. It was great to be with you as we continue to roll on. More news from Capitol Hill that we want to bring you, this time from Representative Tony Gonzalez, putting this out on X just moments ago, saying there is a season for everything and God has a plan for us all. When Congress returns tomorrow, I will file my retirement from office. It has been...
What's up, Agrillipus? Good morning to you. Great to see you in the chat, bro. Happy Topless Taco Tuesday.
My privilege to serve the great people of Texas here. So that was the news.
What's up, Doomerang?
Just moments ago, as Tony Gonzalez, ahead of a possible House expulsion vote, announces that he will retire from Congress tomorrow when the House returns from its 2-week recess for votes. Of course, he has been, again, not only accused, but definitely confirmed.
Yeah, Easy Frank, you know, locally here, you know, obviously I'm involved in politics here locally in where I live. And trust me, man, basically all of the establishment hates me. I mean, they repost my videos that I make. They do all sorts of shit to make me try to look bad. But every single time that they do that, they actually make us look great. So, yeah, you know, when it comes to that kind of shit, when it comes to people and politics and navigating politics, it's really the same exact fuck you attitude that I've always had. Nothing changes in that regard. And, you know, even my dad was like, hey, listen, you're getting yourself in and what you're really deep in this now. Don't change. You know what I mean? Like, don't like all of a sudden become PC or what. And I'm like, dude, do you think that I would ever do that shit? No, of course not. So that's definitely not my style. Either people will like the way that I speak and the rhetoric I have and the way that I present myself, or they don't. Either way, that's just the way it is, right? We got Chrono coming in and gifting out a major whale, by the way, just now, coming in and with the 10 gifted memberships. Yo! My man's out here cooking. I very much appreciate you sending it out this morning and helping not only me, but 10 others in the Insane Wheels family, man. Thank you very much for that.
There's scandal with a former staffer that happened. And again, this continued to be talked about, that if Tony Gonzalez would be expelled from Congress, but now we know that the congressman is going to put his retirement in from Congress starting tomorrow when the House does get back. So we wanted to bring that to you again. This was the statement he put out, saying just moments ago that there is a season for everything and God has a plan for us all. When Congress returns tomorrow, I will file my retirement from office. It has been my privilege to serve the great people.
Well, there's two representatives that just bit the dust. Chrono coming out with the $2 saying, for my Pogo bros, let's go. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Making it rain over here, Chrono. I very much appreciate the 10 gifted and the $2, the 2 spot on top of it. Very much appreciate it. All right, we're going to move on. We got Democrats in the Senate push for vote to end the Iran war. We got to go ahead and present this. It is a main story, so we're going to, of course, have to listen to this. Let's go ahead and hear a whole bunch of bullshit, as well as, listen, I'm also all for the ending of this war. Trust me. I think everybody here on this channel, if you guys aren't necessarily brand new, you guys know my takes on this war. So, you know, let's let's bring out our left-handed tobacco, our counterclockwise tobacco, and try to get through this together. You know what I mean? Also, real quick before we do, we've got this special little badass case. Check this thing out, right? And then you just pull the tab and you open it, and look at that. It holds your left-handed tobacco perfectly. A little case, a little carrying case. You know what I mean? All right, now we're ready to rock and roll and deal with this shit.
Has made it clear that he has zero, and I mean zero, plans to get us out of this war.
And she's talking obviously about Trump.
This president is out of control, and Americans are paying the price. And that is why this week we will force the Senate to debate and vote on a war powers resolution. And until this president is reined in, we will continue to force these votes. That is why it's so important that my colleagues filed more resolutions today. Congress has a job to do, and that is to be a check on this president. We are all up here to say that we will use the levers we have to do that and stop this illegal war of choice. And the only question is if our Republican colleagues will join us and stand with the American people. And with that, I want to kick it to a champion in this fight, Senator Kaine.
Thank you, Tammy, and thanks to all of my colleagues.
Yeah, Grillipus, it's actually very handy. You know what I mean? You're easily able to put this in your pocket or in your back pocket or whatever, and your shit is protected. Yeah, man, and it can hold 5 of them. That's great. All right, back to this.
For being here and this growing momentum. And I know we all heard it from our constituents as we traveled around our states during the recess. I spent a couple of days in Hampton Roads where a lot of our naval power is marshaled. And the Ford carrier and its strike group is about to break the record for the longest post-Vietnam deployment of any carrier. That will happen this week. They were supposed to be out for about 7 months, home by Christmas to be with their families. Instead, they were sent first, extended to send to the Venezuelan waters, and now to the Middle East. It's a ship that has had all kinds of challenges of the kind that normally occur when you run a ship much longer than it was planned to be. And so in Hampton Roads and all over Virginia, I heard concerns from family members. Will my son, will my daughter be...
Yeah, Chrono, it's perfect. You just roll up 5 in the morning or in the evening and you're set for the next day.
Deployed. When will my spouse come home? What is the reason? What is the plan in this illegal and unwise war? Talk about...
A Grillipus, actually, I got it as a gift. Let me see if there's a logo or... There is a logo on it, but I don't know. I don't recognize the brand name on it. Damn it. Yeah, I already threw away the original case that it came in, and I don't have it anymore. But anyway,
the magnitude of the ineptitude of this. The vice president attempted to do a negotiation in Pakistan, and when he finished, and there was no meeting of the minds, he went to a microphone and he said, "We can't allow Iran to have a nuclear weapon." This was an administration that took a deal that was controlling Iran's program and tore it up. And Donald Trump is now waging a war with our troops being killed and others being injured and civilians being killed and dollars being expended, Americans paying more at the pump, to try to find a deal on a nuclear weapon that he had and tore up in his first term. Let me read a sentence from the first page of the deal that Donald Trump chose to tear up. Iran reaffirmed...
Yeah, but that original deal was fucked as well.
That under no circumstances will Iran ever seek, develop, or acquire any nuclear weapons. He had that deal. And he tore it up, and now American troops are being killed as a result. Oh, and now the president is undertaking military action to reopen the Straits of Hormuz. They were open on the 27th of February. They were only closed because, again, of this war of choice, illegal and unwise, that is killing Americans, killing civilians, and wasting taxpayers' money. And that's why...
You know, I really hate when they claim illegal war and all of that, based on congressional approval, right? Anything that is not going through Congress to approve and vote for a war is a quote-unquote illegal war in the Democrats' eyes. You know what I mean? Now, operations are obviously able to be had. The last time we used Congress for a vote going into a war was World War II. Everything else has been direct operations from the President of the United States. I mean, you name it, Iraq. I mean, you just name it. It just goes on and on
This
and on.
group is growing. We're filing war powers resolutions. We have colleagues who want to avoid at all costs a public discussion of this war, the lack of a rationale and the consequences of it. We will not let them do so. And we're confident that if our colleagues begin to listen to their voters in the same way that we listened to our constituents the last 2 weeks, we will find a moment where enough will join us and we can bring an end to this unwise, unjust, and illegal war. And now a colleague who's been working on this for long before this particular war started, the important...
Oh, we got to make a huge pause right here. We got another whale coming in by Agrillipus, by the way. 10 gifted memberships. Yo, this is humongous. Thank you very much for sending out the 10 gifted, man. Definitely goes a long way. Making it rain. Making the shit rain in the chat, man. Thank you very much for that.
role that Congress needs to play before we go to war. Chris Murphy.
Epic.
Thank you very much, Tim, for your tremendous leadership. So listen, we're going to have a debate and a vote every week in the United States Senate until either this war comes to an end or our Republican colleagues decide to do their constitutional duty. The Senate Foreign Relations Committee has still not had a single open hearing on a war that has cost more than a dozen American lives, that is devastating the American economy, that has led to the outbreak of crippling regional conflict and is costing tens of billions of dollars. That is absolutely extraordinary. We have 6 new colleagues who are announcing this week that they are also filing resolutions of disapproval, which means we have lots of resolutions teed up to continue to make sure that we have this debate and this vote.
That's right, Doomerang. We got all the, whip them out Wednesdays, Thirsty Thursdays, Fuck It Fridays, Felony Fridays. Oh, man, we got it all linked in, bro.
On the Senate floor. I think Senator Kaine is right. As this war grows more and more unpopular, as the cost to regular Americans gets higher and higher, as this president's incompetence grows clearer and clearer, it is going to be harder.
By the way, let's get the likes up, man. I very much appreciate it. You guys don't have to like all this craziness that's happening around the world or within our country, but you guys can like it for me and what we're doing here. So thank you for your laborious actions.
For our colleagues to continue to unquestionably support this war. It is unreal that we are sitting here talking about addressing a closure of the Strait of Hormuz by closing the Strait of Hormuz. It sounds like it's out of a comedy, a science fiction movie, but America sees this for what it is.
This guy is a retard. I mean, I don't necessarily even agree with everything that's going down, but this guy is an absolute fucking asshat.
Is a war of choice that is costing American lives and American treasure. So what we're here to say is just very simply, if our Senate Republican colleagues won't do the right thing and have a debate and a vote, our numbers will grow, and we will continue to force this debate every week on the Senate floor. My thanks to Senator Booker for helping to lead this effort.
So I just want to make it plain. The American people do not want this war. The American people don't want higher costs. The American people don't want higher costs for food. The American farmers don't want higher
Man, this guy, every time he gets up there and speaks.
costs for fertilizer. The American people do not want this war. What they want is a Congress that works.
Senator Cory Booker. I couldn't remember the name for a minute.
They want Congress to be holding oversight hearings, open public hearings. They want Congress to be a check and a balance. They want a Congress to do its job. I am deeply grateful for the leadership of the people you see here today. We do not want what they want. Senate Republicans want business as usual. These are not usual times. We are in a moment of moral urgency. We have work to do. And so we're going to continue to do this. Our ranks are growing. More and more of us are saying no business as usual. We're going to force debate. We're going to force discussion. We're going to force votes on the Senate floor. We're going to continue to do everything we can for a war that is profoundly unwanted by the American people and causing so much harm. I want to bring forward now another one of our colleagues, another one of the people who is standing strong in this fight, forcing this debate on the Senate floor with these war power resolutions. I bring up Adam Schiff.
So he really didn't say shit, to be honest. What the fuck? These guys always fighting to get on the podium, man. It's so funny.
Thank you, Senator Booker. We have already lost 13 service members in the Trump-Iran war. We've had scores of other American service members injured, some of them very seriously injured. And just within the last week or so, we had 2 pilots thankfully rescued under very dangerous circumstance, which put a lot of other service members at risk. It is long past time for the U.S. Congress to assert its role to put an end to this conflict, to make sure that we reinstate Congress's authority to declare war or to refuse to declare war. We have spent billions and billions of dollars on a war the American people did not want.
I think the whole declaring war thing is, I mean, it's a moot point now. I mean, no one's going to do that. Everything is in operation nowadays. I mean, it's a loophole that's been used for countless, I mean, decades and decades.
For which the administration never consulted Congress, in which we've had not a single open hearing to expose the American people, the basis for this war, the cause of this war, the goals of this war.
I agree, Steve.
And as a result, we see this administration floundering in its war aims. We see actions that are internally inconsistent, and we see Iran potentially emboldened to try to now charge tolls in the Strait of Hormuz. All of this reflects a lack of foresight. It reflects, I think, the lack of Congress's scrutiny and participation. It reflects the fact the administration never came before the Congress to make the case for this war, let alone make the case to the American people. These resolutions will help force this issue. This isn't over by any means. The risk to our service members continues. The military expenditures continue. The lack of investment in the country, that is the terrible opportunity cost of the billions and billions of dollars being spent on this war, continue. And it's time for Congress to reassert itself. And I'm grateful for all of my colleagues and their efforts along that regard. It's now my pleasure to introduce someone who knows something about being a pilot, and we're grateful for your leadership, Mark Kelly, and also for all the insights you've given us on Artemis. And it's wonderful that we've had some good news.
Here comes Mark Kelly. Oh, boy.
Sure. Mark Kelly.
Thank you, Adam. Let me be
Now, he's definitely going to have something to fucking say. One of the biggest, I wouldn't even just say Trump haters. I would say Republican/conservative haters.
Be blunt. The American people are poorer and less safe because of this president. He got us into a conflict without a strategic goal, without a plan, without a timeline, without an exit strategy. And at this point, he is just flailing. Tried to get us out through a negotiation the other day. The vice president spent 21 hours, and at the end of that negotiation, I understand that the president was at a UFC fight, enjoying the evening with his Secretary of State. In what world does that make sense? That's how serious he is taking this. We have 13 dead Americans. We have 13 families out there that don't have fathers and mothers and brothers and sisters. There are 150 dead Iranian kids and probably in excess of another 1,000 Iranian civilians needlessly killed. Our magazine depths are somewhat depleted. PAC-3 rounds for SM-3s, THAAD rounds, or PAC for Patriots, SM-3 rounds, THAAD rounds, other munitions. We've spent billions of dollars, and this president does not have a plan. And now his latest thing is he's going to completely close the Strait of Hormuz.
Well, by the way, his plans aren't necessarily going to be openly discussed with Congress. No matter which side. That's a discussion between the President of the United States and the Pentagon.
And continue to drive up energy costs and food costs for the American people. So this resolution is something.
What's up, Pops? Good morning to you. Great to see you in the chat, by the way. Happy Topless Taco Tuesday. And by the way, let's get the likes up, everybody. Let's hit that like button and double tap the screen if you guys are on the vertical side. Thank you very much for that.
That clearly we need to get past. Hopefully our Republican colleagues will see the error of their ways here on this issue and support this resolution and support an end to this conflict. Thank you. And with that, let me introduce Senator Jeff Merkley.
I'm going to go ahead and allow him to speak, and then we'll move on.
Madison, writing to Jefferson, who said the Constitution supposes what the history of all governments demonstrates, that it is the executive, the branch of power most interested in war and most prone to it, and thus the Constitution has accordingly, with studied care, put the question of war in the legislature. There is perhaps no example better.
Hey, appreciate that, Dutch Carp, by the way. Very much appreciate it.
Supporting the wisdom of our founders than Trump's unauthorized war in Iran. The nuclear materials buried deep underground with no
Morning,
potential
No-No.
strategy for extracting them. The hardliners strengthened, the reformers weakened, and as my colleagues have emphasized, blood and treasure of the United States, and the lives of more than 1,000 Iranian civilians. So the War Powers Act created a mechanism, a stop sign, for Congress to say, we stand with the Constitution. We took an oath to the Constitution. We support the vision of the Constitution, which is to say, Mr. President, you want this war, you have to come and get authority. So each and every time we vote, and we're going to be...
But they don't. So again, Congress is not involved in any of the war discussions to be real. If anything, that's a heads up from the President of the United States. And it's irrelevant of what president it is. It's just the way that it's been laid out for decades. It's a conversation between the President of the United States and the Pentagon. So anyways, we're going to go ahead and move on. We've got something here. This was yesterday evening. Trump vows to, quote, kill Iranian warships that near blockade. Now, obviously, we reported yesterday about the beginnings of the blockade and what the threats are. Now, here's the update, essentially, from that.
To talk a little bit more about where we're at right now in the war, I want to bring in my
And we're not even going to play this whole thing. We're going to go ahead and get a little bit from this Major General over here, Bob Dees, and then we'll move on.
To help break it all down, everyone, please welcome retired Major General Bob Dees. He served our country for 31 years in the U.S. Army in a wide variety of command and staff positions, including commander of the U.S.-Israeli Combined Task Force for Missile Defense. Great to have you on. Thanks so much for joining us today on Live Now from Fox. And first off, you know, it seems like we're in this holding pattern right now in this war as they try to work out a deal. But what are your thoughts right now on the initial ceasefire that we are seeing?
Yeah, well, thanks, Mike. Good to be with you and your viewers. Holding pattern is perhaps a perception, but I know that behind the scenes, the military folks on the military element of national power are working really hard to set the conditions, get forces in place, be able to...
What's up, Annabella, over there on the Facebook side of things? Great to see you, by the way. Happy Topless Taco Tuesday.
Anticipate the next move should the president direct in this blockade, a lot of moving parts. So yes, it seems to be everybody's standing still, but there's a lot of, at least on our side, I know a lot of actions happening.
We're not talking about declaring war, you fucking dense fuck. We can do operations all we want without congressional approval. Dumb fuck. Anyways, back to this.
And no doubt on the Iranians
retard.
as well.
No, that is great insight there because, you know, from the perspective of really the perception of the public, you would think, okay, it's just, maybe at a standstill, but really a lot of work being done from our military folks.
Yeah, we do everything possible to make operations safe for our military. Obviously, it's a dangerous business, but we have a term in the military called setting the conditions. So I can guarantee you, from CENTCOM and all the players involved, we are setting the conditions for the next military successful operations. And, sometimes when you extend a spring, you have to recoil it, get all that potential energy back in it.
Be safe out there, Pops. We'll see you on the flip side.
And so you can be assured that we're working the mine clearance operations. We're getting forces in place. We're considering alternatives, branches and sequels of whatever might happen.
And is the worry that Iran...
Real quick, before he asks the question, before Mike asks the question, we got Sterling Wheel in the chat, by the way. Good morning, kids from St. Mary's, Georgia. Great to see you in the chat, bro. Hopefully you're enjoying your Topless Taco Tuesday as well.
And the regime just wants to continue to elongate this and really kind of maybe just continue to try to say, you know what, we may want a deal, let's talk about it, but really they don't have any concrete plans of wanting these 10-point plans or 15-point plans in place?
Yeah, well, Mike, I firmly believe that. I mean, we've been doing this for 47 years, and the reality is that they've elongated all these negotiations and never come to a reasonable point. So, yes, I think that's happening again. My major concern, obviously, in addition to the nuclear and the missiles and the spreading extremism, is the Iranian people themselves. So the longer this drags out, the more the Iranian regime has the opportunity to suppress their population, to kill, 45,000 more if we don't operate with some sense of urgency.
And it seems like if President Trump doesn't feel like it is going anywhere, that it seems like he would be the one to really say, okay, you know what, we are going to start up the strikes once again. He said that he would do it before, and it seems like if he doesn't get his way, that things could go that way.
Yeah, well, I definitely agree with that. And I'm not sure that he would, Roberts, there was a famous ranger that said, never go back the same way you came. And so I don't think the U.S.
Annabella, Hershey's doing great, by the way, to give you guys the answer of that.
Pattern in the next week
What's up,
is
Big
going to
Dan?
look
Good
like
morning.
the past week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks. I think there's going to be different levers of pressure to be applied. And then you also have to recognize there's many elements of national power, military only being one, economic is another one. And so this blockade of the Hormuz Straits is really an economic lever that the president is pressing in on hard now on Iran.
Speaking of economic lever, we got Mr. Major General Bob Dees letting us know. Here's an economic lever for you guys. Let's go ahead and get the money part.
All right, just get the money part done.
Give me money. Money me. Money now. Me a money needing a lot now.
Now that is actual factuals.
Denied.
All right, back to this.
And then indirectly on China.
Yeah, and that leads me to my next question. I think it's a great segue. When the pressure right now on this blockade to Iran and others like China, how long could China really wait out this blockade, would you say?
Well, that's a good question. I'm not sure anybody knows that, but what we do know is that this blockade will be very costly to China economically. As I understand, roughly 45% of Chinese oil comes from Iran, and that is sanctioned oil. So it's a lot cheaper if China has to pay the.
I didn't know it was that much. I thought it was that much for basically the Middle East. But interesting, specific from Iran.
The full market price of oil, and there's less of it, and there's some risk associated with obtaining it. All of that's bad for China.
And right now, it's...
All right, so we're going to go ahead and move on from there. We got Pope Leo. As you guys know, yesterday on the show, we were reporting on the words that were exchanged between basically Trump and talking about Pope Leo. And now Pope Leo has responded a day later. Pope Leo says he has, quote, no fear of the Trump administration. So let's go ahead and bring that up. And what I always say as well is we need to be embracing our fuck-ups.
Don't beat yourself up over past mistakes. You are going to fuck up again in the future, quite possibly in a most spectacular fashion. Why worry about yesterday's fuck-ups when you have tomorrow's fuck-ups to look forward to? You are a fuck-up, and fucking up is part of your growth process. Embrace the process.
Embrace thy process. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? All right, so let's get back to this here in a sec. Oh, I haven't even shared the damn screen. All right, so let me go ahead and bring this up. And 3, 2, 1, bam.
Classified Robert Barron supports you and your policies. He praises you for defending religious freedom.
Yeah.
He now says you owe Pope Leo an apology. Will you apologize?
Yeah, it's going to be crazy, Steve, for sure.
No, I don't, because Pope Leo said things that are wrong. He was very much against what I'm doing with regard to Iran, and you cannot have a nuclear Iran. Pope Leo would not be happy with the end result. You have hundreds of millions of people dead, and it's not going to happen. So I can't. I think he's very weak on crime and other things. So I'm not. I mean, he went public. I'm just responding to Pope Leo, and his brother is a big MAGA person, and he's a great guy, Louis. And I said I like Louis better than I like the Pope. Now, you have to have law and order in our country, and that's what we have now. We have the lowest crime numbers we've had in a long time, despite the fact that many criminals were allowed into our country. But we've gotten a lot of them out. We've done a great job on crime. So we have the lowest murder rate in 125 years, since 1900, the lowest murder rate. So we believe strongly in law and order, and he seemed to have a problem with that, so there's nothing to apologize for. He's wrong. The other thing is he didn't like what we're doing with respect to Iran, but Iran is wants to be a nuclear nation, so they can...
Yes, Cameron, I did see that.
Exterminate the...
Trump came out and said, I wasn't trying to portray to be Jesus. I was trying to show that I'm a doctor.
world. Not going to happen.
You're listening in there, President Trump talking about what Pope Leo, the American Pope, said about this conflict in Iran, saying he would not apologize. Pope Leo saying he does not fear what President Trump does, and obviously mentioning Lewis, who spoke to us here on Live Now from Fox after he was instilled as Pope Leo XIII. But plenty to get to after this DoorDash delivery, as J.D. Vance couldn't quite...
What's up, TVT? Good morning to you, by the way. And yes, there was some interesting things happening yesterday. There was a nice little stunt where Trump, I guess, ordered, I guess he ordered like McDonald's from DoorDash. And then like DoorDash grandma comes over, you know, perfect timing. We got DoorDash grandma. Yeah, this is great. And then he tips her $100 or whatever, and then he takes questions, I think.
Deliver on that negotiation in Islamabad over the weekend, as you heard from the president saying nuclear was the main sticking point.
Yeah, Cameron, that's literally what his response was when he got asked the question about him making that post in the media. And he goes, well, I was portraying being a doctor.
Of this negotiation.
Not
a live
Jesus.
look right now there in Washington, D.C. at the White House. It was now early on Monday. Those Iranian ports are blocked. U.S. President Donald Trump saying they're also blocking the Strait of Hormuz. Let's bring into the conversation right now Sophia Kai, White House correspondent for Politico. Sophia, thank you so much for joining us here on Live Now from Fox. Now there's a blockade.
What's up, Josh Phillips, my man over there on the Facebook side of things. Good morning to you. Great to see you, by the way.
Of an already blocked Strait of Hormuz. What is President Trump's endgame with this move?
I think this move is to exert more pain on Iran and make life more difficult without doing the maximalist, I will annihilate an entire civilization. I think Trump is saying he's still hoping that the Iranians will come back to the negotiating table. Today we heard from him. He said that the right people called. He was pretty vague in what those conversations looked like. He seemed to imply that the Iranians reached out saying that they still wanted to talk. I think President Trump and J.D. Vance are both very clear that the Iranians have to agree to all of the points that were set forth this weekend.
How much is different privately versus publicly? Because on Fox News.
What's up, Lappy? Good morning to you. Great to see you in the chat as well. Good
tonight. Vice President J.D. Vance said they moved the goalpost, the Iranians did, about the Strait of Hormuz, about some of these kind of negotiating the points, the 10-point plan. Will there be negotiations in the future? How might it look publicly versus privately behind closed doors?
I think there's a lot of bluster publicly, but even in...
And by the way, good morning, Shyla. Appreciate you hanging out with us this morning.
The public statements, if you read between the lines, you'll see that both sides acknowledge that a lot was in fact agreed upon, even though they failed to come out with lasting peace in Islamabad this weekend. President Trump said that there were points that they both agreed to, although nuclear was not agreed to. And Iran said that they were, quote, inches away from a deal. And so behind the bluster, I think there's still a willingness to continue conversations. And that's what President Trump is.
Yes, and I noticed that. And welcome in. This is what we do Monday through Friday, by the way. We only go live for an hour. We basically consolidate all of the world news, geopolitics, shape-shifting of the world into a single hour per day, and then members only is on Saturday, where we don't discuss any of this shit. We actually have a good time. We try to have just pure laughter. Just shit like that. You know what I mean? But nonetheless, yes, this is what we do. So make sure you guys hit that subscribe button.
Is pursuing still.
And those economic pressures might impact Iran. How much willingness is there on that nuclear capability point? Because that's a red line for the United States. Iran, can they and will they eventually compromise in any regard?
So that is a red line for President Trump. He said today to reporters as he was doing this DoorDash event, he said, are you guys writing it down? Iran will not have a nuclear weapon. And that's something that he's been consistent on.
Yeah, he did say that. He goes, and grab a pen, write this down. Iran will not have nuclear power, a nuclear weapon.
For the last couple of decades, even before becoming president, that's been a belief that he's had, is that Iran is a nation that will never be allowed to have a nuclear weapon. I think as president, he's going to hold to that line.
And I want to ask you, because we're showing some video of the Strait of Hormuz, and we know how the global commodity of oil and gas impacts Americans' lives on a daily basis. Over the weekend, he said, ahead of the midterms.
What's up, Jimmy Mack? Good morning to you. Great to see you in the chat.
He hopes gas prices are higher, but they could go a little bit higher. What are we hearing?
Well, he said, well, this is what Trump said regarding prices of oil and gas was, it's going to be hopefully around the same. It may go up a little bit, but it should be right around the same. Now, I look at it on a geopolitical level, right? You guys see what I do every single day. On a geopolitical level, I look at it and go, it's not going to stay the same. I mean, I'm sorry to give you guys bad news, but I'm not going to tell you guys that it's not going to be. Look at this. This is what we look at right here. This is the Strait of Hormuz. No passage is happening right now, as you guys can see. Every dot, every triangle on here, whether it's green, that means that a ship is moving. And if it's red, that means it's stationary. It's usually anchored at that point. Anyways, So, on this map, it's interesting because the red is because these are moving in the shipping lane. So I don't understand why they're showing red. But nonetheless, whatever. Anyways, this is the shipping lanes, and I look at it and go, okay, well, if they shut down the Strait of Hormuz, this is where all of the oil comes out from, basically up here in the northern region from the island, Karg Island. This is where they process all of their oil and then they ship it out and it goes to the rest of the world. I mean, it goes to some of it to us, a very, very, very small amount. Most of it, of course, going to China and all that whatever shit. But then, of course, up in Europe. So this shipping lane down by Yemen, which is owned by basically run by the Houthi rebels, they can shut this strait down at any time. And they've already threatened to do that during this war. And they have the ability, just the firepower ability to be able to have an issue over here. So then all of our shit going into Europe is going to be jeopardized. So they're trying to figure out another way around, but there is no other way. I mean, you'd have to literally go all the way around Africa. And seeing, like, you guys can see what these ships are doing right now. They're going all the way around, all the way back up. So I don't know, man. It's crazy shifting of the world that we're watching. So anyways, back to this. Sorry, I just got it. I had to geek out on that for a second. All right, we're bringing it back up to this whole discussion real quick. We'll allow this question to finish and we'll move on.
The fact that U.S. citizens paying a little bit more at the gas pump, is he concerned about it?
I think he is. And I can tell you that his chief of staff, Susie Wiles, is also very concerned. Energy prices is something that Susie Wiles has been concerned about all of last year. And, she has tried for months to get President Trump to also be focused on this issue publicly, but this was before the war started. The war has made her job and President Trump's job to assuage American voters all that much harder. Now they're seeing average prices above $4. And it's also something that Iran is seizing on, saying, if you continue down this path, then Americans will be dreaming of gas prices back to $4. And the price of oil is now above $100 per barrel now. It came down just below when there was a 2-week ceasefire. Now, that 2-week ceasefire is still in effect, but I think the markets are reacting negatively to a no deal out of Islam.
Of course, because they're not seeing any movement on the aspect of the Strait of Hormuz. Yes, there is a ceasefire, but there's still shipping lanes that are blocked. And so that's an issue. And so, of course, oil and gas is not going to go down during that time. Anyways, let's go ahead and go into this little clip here of this DoorDash event here.
He was touting
on the
his
White
impacts
House.
on tips kind of moment there. He's going to be in Arizona and Nevada this week. How has Trump managed to...
Real quick, we got Jimmy Mack coming in with the 5 spot saying, I can claim that I have a loose screw on... No, not them screws, but one in my spine. Yes, dude, I've got screws. I've got my whole left shoulder. My whole left shoulder is basically plates and screws, dude. I've got like 5-inch and 4.5-inch screws and all that, whatever, holding my shit together. But man, thank you very much, Jimmy Mack. That's very, very true, by the way. So thank you for the 5 spot. It definitely goes a long way, making it rain in the chat. All right, back to this.
Talk about the ongoing conflict in Iran, but also talk about things that he is very proud of, some of the One Big Beautiful Bill. What can you tell us about that moment today?
Well, DoorDash does not usually deliver to the White House, so this moment was absolutely staged. And President Trump, look, I think they're trying to sprinkle these moments to remind voters that there were these...
What's up, Extra Surprise? Good morning.
Things that they've done to help the American pocketbook, especially in states like Nevada and in Arizona, where he'll travel to, where there's a large population of tipped workers. And so...
yeah, that whole event with the DoorDash thing, yeah, no, that was all put on. Absolutely. It was definitely put on. No doubt about it. All right, we're going to go ahead and move on. Report, this is... I guess late this evening or last evening. It was like about 10, 11 o'clock my time when this came out. But since we reported on this whole thing with Swalwell, we have a report. Quote, Whisper network of sexual misconduct allegations sounded alarm on Swalwell. Let's go ahead and bring that up. Let's go ahead and see what they've got on this so that we can follow this story here.
All right, welcome back.
And we're not even going to play this whole thing, by the way. We don't have the time. We still got 2 other major stories to get through. Rubio leads Israel and Lebanon ceasefire talks that just happened this morning. And then we have of course, Israel and Lebanon to hold diplomatic talks in the U.S. And so we have a couple of reports on that.
Now from Fox, I am Andy Mack. It was a swift and abrupt departure for Eric Swalwell, the Democratic congressman, as he said he's going to resign from his seat there as a California 14th district, but also ends his bid to try to be the next governor of California. This coming after an explosive report about sexual assault allegations and misconduct. And obviously lots of questions on where this came from and the timing of everything involved here. I want to put up a post from Jeremy Wright with the Politico saying how Eric Swalwell went from governor favorite to collapse. Did people see what they want to see or hear what they want to hear or not ask questions they didn't want?
What's up, Brother Dean? Appreciate you hanging out with us over there from the West Coast. Shout out to you, by the way.
The answers too, 1,000%. So a lot of questions on where this came from, but these allegations very serious. We're joined right now by Jeremy White from Politico. Jeremy, it's interesting to look into.
Every time there's a Politico spokesperson or reporter, analyst, whatever, every single time they always have, the guy, you can tell that he's actually got a suit on and shit like that, but you can't see that because it's a straight headshot. I don't know why they do that every time, man. Back it up a little bit. See where Andy is on the frame? That's where you should be. Everybody from Politico is always like looking goofy and shit, like they just rolled out of bed. And I'm just saying,
Bruh.
I'm just observing
some of these behind closed doors conversations. What more can you tell us about this reporting and what came to light with this resignation of Eric Swalwell?
This was something where there had been rumors circulating about some potential inappropriate behavior by the congressman, but it really burst into public view in a very appropriately 2026 way on social media, where people started making more specific pointed allegations. And that sort of fed a feedback loop in Sacramento, where people were increasingly bringing this up in talks with the campaign, whether with the candidate himself, pardon me, or with surrogates, and were consistently told there's nothing to it.
Yeah, there's a lot of questions exactly about this. And there's also questions on kind of where it came from. As we spoke with the San Francisco Chronicle reporter, Alexei Kotsev, that broke this story initially. It says he was going through background on some of these candidates and they spoke to different staffers about this. But who else potentially knew about this story and didn't come forward? Who should be also...
I'm sure there's a lot of people within Congress, probably everybody on the inside knew.
So accountable and responsible for this report, these women's voices not being out there or at least heard.
Folks we spoke to and have spoken to in the last
few
days,
Cameron.
including some prominent allies and endorsers and staffers, they profess shock at this. They say that when they ask the candidate or ask people in the campaign about, listen, either these specific allegations, are they true? Or more broadly, is there something we need to worry about? Is there something in your past that is going to come up in a campaign? They were given firm and categorical denials. And so there are a lot of people in the aftermath of these reports telling us that they were shocked, that they were lied to. That at least is what we are hearing.
Yeah, and obviously a shocking development, at least for people from afar, potentially voters that would have cast their ballot for Eric Swalwell, here from Politico, announcing these sexual assault, misconduct, and allegations, forcing him to withdraw. You mentioned some of the other lawmakers that are out there, including supporters, dozens of Democrats pulling their support, saying, I asked Gallega.
Dozens of Democrats are defending sexual assault, and supposedly the number is up to 50 women now. What the fuck?
So how he'd respond to people questioning if he knew Swalwell's behavior, given how much time they spent together. They said, the quote, the man led a double life. He said, for many, I mean more than 20 congressmen, people that have served with him for a long time, saying, well, we have no clue.
Oh, that's cap. That's them over there pretending like they don't know. I didn't know. I didn't see nothing.
Is that a culture on Capitol Hill, a concern for people to see one person in the public view versus another privately?
Again, this is something that has consistently come out from people who have spent time with Eric Swalwell, who were political allies with him, saying that they were blindsided by these revelations. But, that quote that you put up early in the interview, I think is also very telling. Certainly in the context of this governor's race, there were a lot of people who supported Eric Swalwell trying to find some consolidation in an unsettled field.
What's up, SST? Good morning to you, by the way. Good morning.
With a lot of Democrats in it who took him at his word and perhaps wanted to do so, wanted to hear it's going to be okay, there's nothing to it. And now we have a situation where a lot of people who stuck their necks out and endorsed this guy are in a tough position and had to not just pull it back, but do some soul searching about why they extended that endorsement in the first place.
And what are voters thinking in this?
Yeah, that's got to be brutal. That's got to be definitely brutal. All right, we have to move on. We have two reports that we got to get through real quick before, so we're going to be going a little bit into overtime. We're not going to listen to the entire bit from both of these reports. We're going to go ahead and hear, because we've got the Israel-Lebanon between the Lebanese government regarding the ceasefire here. Now, once they get a ceasefire going, that doesn't necessarily directly mean Hezbollah's within a ceasefire. Hezbollah is not actually a part of the Lebanese government. It's a whole different organization. So that's where the Lebanese government comes in and tells them, hey, you guys need to fucking cool it right now. We just signed a fucking deal. We got to, blah, blah, blah. So we saw that complexity in 2024. We saw a lot of that complexity. We actually reported on a lot of it. Anyways, back to this.
Later on today, we are expected for Israeli and Lebanese officials to attend a high-stakes meeting at the U.S. State Department to seek an announcement on a ceasefire and a date to begin direct negotiations. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu authorized direct talks following what he said were repeated requests from the Lebanese government. Those talks between Israel and Lebanon is expected today in Washington, D.C. And to talk more about this, we want to bring in Seth Frantzman with the the Foundation for Defense of Democracies to talk more about this. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
And so you're in Israel right now. I just want to ask, what are you seeing right now on the ground? What are the people there? How are they feeling?
Well, it's important to remember, I think that Hezbollah has been attacking Israel for around 918 days since they joined the conflict after Hamas carried out its brutal massacre.
Ghost, I saw that announced yesterday a little bit, but truthfully, I didn't investigate it. I didn't really look into it. So I'll have to get that information and look into it, and then I'll let you know, maybe on tomorrow's episode.
On October 7th, 2023. So, people are exhausted. I mean, this war has gone on a very long time. It hasn't always been an intense war because, Israel has ramped up the intensity back in 2024, and then there was sort of a ceasefire, and then Hezbollah broke the ceasefire on February 28th. Actually, March 2nd, after the U.S. and Israel.
Yeah, I was about to say, wait, what? Where are you getting your numbers from over there, cuh? All right, this guy's goofball. Let's go ahead and see if we got any reports that came out during this time. We already know a lot of what we already need to know here. We don't need to hear Bert and Ernie over here speak to us.
This says here, Axios reports that U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio will host today's meeting between the Israeli and Lebanese ambassadors in Washington to launch direct negotiations, with talks expected to focus on a ceasefire, potential disarmament of Hezbollah, and a broader peace deal. We saw Vice President J.D. Vance lead the negotiations over the weekend here with Iran and the United States. How do you think Secretary of State Marco Rubio will approach these negotiations or meeting between Israeli and Lebanese ambassadors?
Well, Marco Rubio has proven himself to be a very adept Secretary of State.
Oh my God, this fucking guy. Okay, I can't stand him. We're gonna move on because we have the latest report, which came out 2.5 hours ago, and regards to Israel and Lebanon to hold their diplomatic talks in the United States over there in Washington, D.C., by the way. Interesting. Let's go and bring this up.
And that was the latest update that we had from the Israeli government. So we are expecting between officials with Israel and Lebanon, those talks happening in Washington, D.C. later on today. Bringing us out to a social media.
So those talks are, I guess, today. I told you guys I didn't know exactly what day it was going to be, but it's in the title today, and I said, well, it's probably happening today, but now we've got confirmation.
So from Reuters news correspondent Hala Ramadan, she says that Axios is reporting that U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio will host today's meeting between the Israeli and Lebanese ambassadors in Washington to launch direct negotiations, with talks expected to focus on a ceasefire, potential disarmament of Hezbollah, and a broader peace deal. Bringing us out to live images that we have of the White House, just a little bit more background on what we can expect today. The Associated Press saying that the Israeli military is pushing ahead with air and ground offensives in southern Lebanon, engaging in fierce fighting with Hezbollah militants over a strategic town, while the Lebanese militant group fires rockets and drones at northern Israel. Also, a senior Hezbollah official said it would not abide by any of...
Yes, and he's got tater tots, too. You know what I mean? In the other pocket.
agreements that may result from direct Lebanon-Israel talks set to start today. in Washington. A lot to discuss, so joining us next into the program live is going to be David Daoud. He is a senior fellow with the Foundation for the Defense of Democracies. He's joined us before, and he is following all of this very closely. David, good morning.
Good morning to you.
David actually does a somewhat decent job, reporting on these things. So let's go ahead and
start with really an overview of what we can expect. Given the fact that over the weekend we saw some of these talks between the U.S. and Iran break down, and today we're seeing very rare talks between Israel and Lebanon. I just want to start with the fact that
and that's happening in D.C.
We're hearing such conflicting stances from both sides with what they hope to accomplish. So where would these negotiations even start?
That's a good question. I think we have to take into consideration that it's a very different dynamic between Israel and Lebanon than between the United States and Iran. There's not a direct war between Israel and Lebanon. Lebanon has declared Hezbollah's military activity, which is the party engaged in war with Israel, to be illegal.
Oh, wow. That's definitely something that I actually didn't know. Usually it's kind of like the turn the blind eye will allow you to do it. We won't enforce anything. But it's a little different when they make it legal and the government says, hey, your army now is going to be used. And we say it's legal. Wow. Didn't know that part.
As of March 2nd, it is, as of February of 2025, Hezbollah, the Lebanese government has deprived Hezbollah of this cover it has so long given it as the resistance organization, the kind of the resistance organ body of Lebanon. So there's not a direct confrontation. At the same time, there is to a certain degree, right? The Israeli war is happening in Lebanon, and the outcome of the talks are going to depend on goodwill from both sides and what both sides can deliver. The Lebanese or the Israeli demand is not to return to the status quo ante, because this isn't the first ceasefire amidst this war, right? This is the same war as I've been emphasizing in repeated interviews that started on October 8th of 2023. It's not a new war. And there's already been a ceasefire that went into effect on November 27th of 2024. And this government...
Right. And that's what we were talking about with the Israeli slash, well, it was actually with Lebanon, the Lebanese government, the ceasefire back in 24. And we actually reported all of that as well. Crazy times.
Under Nawaf Salam and this president, Joseph Aoun, have been in power for the most of that period. And what they've offered is a lot in the way of encouraging words, but very little to nothing in terms of actions against Hezbollah. So the Israelis are going to demand something different this time in exchange for a cessation of hostilities, whatever that looks like. I don't know if the Israelis are going to accept a situation where they completely stop attacking Hezbollah. Maybe their ideal is to return to the situation that prevailed for those 15 months prior to the renewal of the conflict. Conversely, on the Lebanese side, for the Israelis, again, this on the one part entails continued operations, for all intents and purposes, attacks in Lebanon, perhaps military presence and occupation.
What's up, Two-Wheel Jesus? Good morning to you, by the way.
Blunt here of swaths of South Lebanon. And from the Lebanese side, it's understandable why this would be considered a violation of the country's sovereignty from their perspective and deemed unacceptable. The Lebanese argument has been, we can't operate against Hezbollah so long as these Israeli attacks and the Israeli presence are ongoing. It's a very unconvincing argument given everything else, but that is the Lebanese position, and one can understand why it is the Lebanese position.
I want to go a little bit further on the Lebanese position and also just cite some of the reporting that we have that talks about each side, their stance, what they have said going into these talks. So Lebanon hoping for a ceasefire as a prerequisite. They want something similar to Iran and the U.S. and what they had in Pakistan over the weekend. Israel framing the talks as peace.
Yeah, that 21-hour negotiating that led us to nothing.
Negotiations with Hezbollah's disarmament as a priority, something you mentioned during that first answer there. Israel did not mention anything about a ceasefire or withdrawal of its forces from southern Lebanon. So my question is this disarmament of Hezbollah has been a topic of discussion and really one of the main priorities for several months now. And it's something that Israel is demanding of the Lebanese government. The Lebanese government has said that they are committed to disarming Hezbollah. So what would that look like from the Lebanese government's perspective? What are some of the things they say they need in order to accomplish that goal?
Well, from the Lebanese government's perspective, what it should look like is not just statements demanding Hezbollah's disarmament or prescribing Hezbollah's military activity. It's actually putting into effect practical measures in order to achieve that. Now, the Lebanese claim they did do that. There was a Lebanese army plan that was welcomed, not approved. This is a very critical distinction. The Lebanese government never officially adopted the LAF plan on September 5th of 2025. That was initially intended to achieve Hezbollah's disarmament throughout Lebanon. by the end of 2025, and then it had shifted to just the southern Litani area. The Lebanese government declared, the Lebanese army declared on January 8th of 2026 that they had done so, and now we see demonstrably that that was untrue. So it would entail arrests, it would entail seizures of weapons, it would entail controlling their land borders, it would entail tighter controls at the airports, even tighter than they have implemented over the past 15 months. It would entail the...
Let me tell you, I forget this guy's name, but let me go ahead and give you a message personally. Go ahead and invest in a decent microphone. You know, fuck those AirPods, man. I'm sorry. I'm a stickler for good audio. Bro, you're speaking to the nation. You're actually speaking worldwide. I don't understand these guys that get on their bunk ass Obama phones and on their 14-year-old fucking laptop that barely has a webcam, and they don't use a fucking microphone. So it just picks up the empty sound behind. I mean, it's just terrible. You guys are talking to millions of people, and you guys are like on AirPods and shit, man. Like, get it together.
Army deploying to South Lebanon in sufficient numbers to prevent Hezbollah from not just repositioning itself, but engaging in any regeneration efforts. Now, none of that has happened. The Lebanese government claimed this is a matter of a lack of resources. They're asking for, on the one hand, assistance from the international community to build up the LAF.
Yes, let's make sure we get the likes up. You guys don't have to like all the craziness that's happening around the world, but you guys can like it for me and what we're doing here. And listen, hit that, well, double tap that screen if you're on the vertical side and hit that subscribe button, man. This is what we do Monday through Friday.
Capabilities, and on the other hand, a cessation of Israeli operations. They're saying the primary impediment to Lebanon's ability to fulfill this task is the continuation of Israeli operations, which again rings a little hollow considering if the Israeli operations weren't ongoing, then Hezbollah would be in a stronger position, and in being in a stronger position, they would be more menacing to the Lebanese government, which would have to forcibly disarm them. Given, as you said earlier, this has been Hezbollah's stance for 15 months. They've refused disarmament. They've refused to abide by any agreement that Lebanon intends to make, either diplomatically with Israel or otherwise. They've refused to abide by any order by the Lebanese government to disarm. The Lebanese government had given the...
to disarm Hezbollah.
Hezbollah's retention of sufficient percentage of its arsenal to remain militarily menacing in Lebanon. The Lebanese government had pursued dialogue with Hezbollah to achieve disarmament, and Hezbollah used this in bad faith to continue regeneration. So what the Lebanese are saying is they need the Israelis to stop, and they need capabilities, they need assistance to build up the capabilities. But what it strikes me as is more of a lack of will rather than a lack of capabilities.
We're continuing to take these live images out of Beirut, Lebanon, and I'm also trying to take in this whole conversation, David, because again, heading into these talks, these conflicting stances, and the fact that there's certain points from Israel and Lebanon that they need, yet Hezbollah says we don't even care what comes out of these talks. I mean, I guess there's just still a lot up in the air. I want to take us out to what's
It's a whole bunch of sides saying we don't give a shit.
Actually happening on the ground still consistently. This is a social media post courtesy of the Israel Defense
IDF.
Forces. This is from a few hours ago, but they pretty much recap this 24-hour recap. They say 150 Hezbollah targets were struck in numerous areas across southern Lebanon. Accomplishments: rocket launchers, UAVs struck, military structures, anti-tank missile launch points, and terror command centers were targeted. Terrorist cells that attempted to carry out a terror attack against IDF soldiers were thwarted. David, you and I, for the past couple of weeks or so, we've been talking about some of that activity that continues to escalate in the southern part of Lebanon, particularly along the Litani River. We have seen some of those towns along that river also being a major target for Israel. How could these continuing operations in Lebanon be addressed at the talks today between Israeli officials and also the Lebanese government?
Well, it seems that the Lebanese government wants them to completely cease, and that seems to be a non-starter for the Israelis. If I'm not mistaken, there was a report that the Lebanese ambassador had asked her Israeli counterpart during the preliminary talks for a cessation of hostilities, or that she would ask for a cessation of hostilities, rather, as kind of a goodwill gesture. Whether that happened or not is unclear, but that seems to have been the stance.
Right. I don't know if that happened or not, to be honest.
So the Lebanese government throughout, that they want these Israeli operations to stop. They want Israel to begin a withdrawal from South Lebanon. And the Israelis, conversely, I mean, they're on the cusp of taking over Bint Jbeil as of yesterday.
In all fairness, 5150, I do have usually, when I'm reporting these things, I have it on 1.25 times playback speed. I do that so I can fit everything in as far as I can into an hour instead of it being, like longer than it needs to kind of thing. But anyways.
There's been an update overnight. But Bint Jbeil is a critical center for Hezbollah. It's a village of 30,000 people in South Lebanon. It's not a small area. It holds symbolic significance for Hezbollah. This is the place where Hassan Nasrallah, the former Secretary General, declared after the May 2000 withdrawal that Israel is weaker than a spider's web. So the Israelis taking it over and taking over the stadium where he made that declaration is meant to kind of create a sense of defeat among Hezbollah. But the place from which that statement issued is now in Israeli hands.
Yo, that is fucking great. 5150. Yeah, it's not you. It's not you.
So these operations are ongoing. The Israelis said last week that they'd reached the anti-tank line. This is the line that would put Hezbollah's anti-tank arsenal out of range of northern Israel. And what we've heard, there have been conflicting statements, but the IDF last week, if not the week prior, there were reports in Haaretz and elsewhere that the IDF intended to establish a 2 to 3 kilometer buffer zone in South Lebanon. Prime Minister Netanyahu, I think, said a couple of days ago that would be closer to something like 8 kilometers. So what that looks like is ultimately going to, we'll see what it's going to look like. But this appears to be a continued Israeli goal, and it remains unclear what Lebanon can offer at the moment in order to deter the Israelis from that goal, to convince the Israelis to let go of that goal. Because the way the Israelis are looking at it now, the revival of this security zone in South Lebanon, and one did exist between 1985 and 2000, is the only way to keep Hezbollah away from the border and to kind of establish a striking pad, if you will, within Lebanon for ground troops, not just the Air Force, to continue striking at Hezbollah within the country and continue to.
Kind of reminds me a little bit of how Syria went down in the aspect of the Israeli side. Anyways, listen, I can't thank each and every single one of you guys enough for the amount of support that you guys show me and the channel. Monday through Friday, and then Saturday morning for members only, man. I'm very appreciative. And listen, so we're going to be back tomorrow morning for more of the world's madness as we continue down this truth-seeking adventure, of course. And listen, stick around. We're going to be raiding our buddy, Chaotic Truth. He's live right now, so make sure you guys let him know we're coming through with the Mike Ball raid. All right, much love, honor, respect, everybody. God bless everyone. We'll see you guys very soon. Take care of yourselves.
From the depths of darkness, a voice emerges, a host with a fire burning in his soul. With a heart, steel, and a spirit unbroken, he rides onto wheels ready to claim his throne. Amidst the chaos and the thunderous roar, insane wheels rise